Since I already made a Paradox form for all the starters, it was now time to take care of the Legendaries. I decided to make them in order of the generations, so today we're taking care of Kanto. For our first transformation we're going to take care of Moltres. I've decided to make all of the Kanto birds into a future form, since the doggos of JoJo were already going to be a past form. I don't know why, but I see these two trios as connected, and that's why I made this decision. With that out of the way, let's talk about the drawing itself. I've gotten the most critique on my future forms, saying that they just don't look robotic enough. Since these are legendaries, I really felt like I had to step up on that department. This made me try a lot harder on this piece, and I added the features while constantly looking at reference. The biggest difference I gave this piece, which I didn't really do before, was to make his legs look robotic instead of keeping the organic ones. Other big changes were the big belly patch, the segmented neck, and we made sure to add a lot of lines all around the body. These lines make the piece look a lot more like a robot. We also added the screen onto his face, but instead of placing it on the face, we actually made it look like it goes into the face. This is what we learned from our Sylveon drawing. The last thing we did for this design was to transform the flames on his wings into light holding triangles to sell the secondary electric typing. For the colors we only made one significant change, which was using orange for the lighted parts instead of going for red. Iron Phoenix, the Paradox Pokemon. Legends tell of a trio of birds coming into conflict with one another, but it is unknown about what happened to each of them afterwards. However, we do have records of them individually, which we'll go over now. Tales about this Pokemon have circulated that it has lived inside of active volcanoes, where it charges itself with the immense heat. At full capacity, this Pokemon unleashes a blazing inferno, similar to an erupting volcano. This was definitely an improvement on how to make future forms look more robotic, and I'll definitely use this on the other forms as well. Up next is the future form of Articuno. This was the piece where someone in my chat mentioned that we could play around with the typings of the original birds. This was possible since we accidentally gave Iron Phoenix the fire electric typing. This meant that our Articuno form had to be an ice fire type. I must say that it was quite difficult to bring that into this design. We started out by bringing back the same type of legs, and we added some segments for the wings as well. It was then time to bring in the fire elements, and I thought it would be cool to make his head crest look a bit melted, so we made it emulate a melted candle. Our other fire element would be a jet-like feature instead of the regular tail. I knew the tail was necessary in order to keep the aesthetic of Articuno. That's why we made the flames of the jet follow the same direction as the original tail. The last change we made was to make his fur more blocky, and we added a segmentation in his neck. We then had a little struggle on the color palette, since the original Articuno eyes were red, but that color didn't really fit this design. Luckily, I remembered that flames can be blue as well, so we made the lighted color follow that. Iron Frostbite, the Paradox Pokemon. Researchers have discovered this Pokemon living within the coldest areas, biding its time and charging its energy reserves before unleashing it all as a massive blizzard. This keeps itself protected from those who dare to set foot in its territory. I think this could definitely go as a future form, and it's for sure the better one of the two so far. Our third future form is of course for Zapdos. This piece was by far the easiest to make out of the three. The shape of his wings left me little room to do something unique with, other than just straightly copying the wings of Iron Moth. The other changes weren't even that big either, because we just brought back the robotic legs, added a small segment in his chest, added a lot of segments on the rest of his body, and we gave him the same type of eye socket like the previous two drawings. You might be wondering how this Pokemon could be a part ice type, but that's where the colors come in. I decided to make the lighted color blue, which would be a perfect fit for the ice typing, but it also fits lightning, connecting it to the other typing. Iron Thunder, the Paradox Pokemon. This Pokemon is rumored to live within large thunderstorms, where it charges itself with the electricity within, while also expanding the thunderstorm to create an area-wide one. It is said that when it opens its beak, you can hear an electric hum from all the energy it contains. I hope you guys don't mind the copied Iron Moth wings, but I think it looks great on this Pokemon as well. Only less than 10% of you guys are actually subscribed. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing that so many of you are subscribed, but I'm not done with making Paradox Pokemon, and I'm currently working on all the legendaries, so if you wanna see those, please consider subscribing. Last but not least, we have a future form of Mewtwo. But Nick, why don't you make Mewtwo into a past form? Because past forms are so much cooler than future ones. Well, that's kinda easy to explain. Mewtwo was a man-made Pokemon, created from the already existing Mew, hence why the name Mewtwo. I know my pieces are a what if, but I still want to give them a backstory which fits in the Pokemon world. Okay, on to the drawing. We started out by giving him eye sockets for the screens again, and then we added a rubber patch on the middle of his body. The changes after those were kinda easy as well. We added some segments on his tail, feet and toes. After that we decided it would look cool to detach his head from its body. At one point I did question this decision and tried to give him a translucent neck, but that didn't make it better, so we eventually just kept the detached head. The last thing we did was to make his arms into Go-Go Gadget ones, which means that they would probably have the function to be extended beyond their regular reach. Mew 3, the Paradox Pokemon, also known as Iron Clone. This Pokemon is the result of another experiment on Mewtwo gone wrong. The goal was to remove all the negative feelings the Pokemon had towards humans, but the experiment backfired and flipped its morality. It now hates humans and despises them with a passion. Its immense psychic powers allow it to control the weak-minded to do its evil deeds. I think this version of Mewtwo is awesome. I do also want to point out his shiny, which I know a lot of you will love. I went in this direction because the white color on his body wouldn't change enough when I made it grey, so we went for a dark robot instead. Well, these are all the Kanto Legendaries. And next week we'll move on to Johto. Let me know which one was your favorite, and good.